Alcatraz. I debunked the myth. Can you escape? I did this at 31 weeks pregnant. I am all for creating these institutions surrounded by very dangerous animals. Again, whether that is Alcatraz, surrounded by great white sharks, or alligator Alcatraz, surrounded by alligators. Do I think Clay Travis could escape Alcatraz? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Gains for Girls podcast. This past weekend, I broke liberals' minds, which number one is not very hard to do, and number two, it seems to be a hobby of mine at this point. But this time it was for swimming and successfully escaping Alcatraz at 31 weeks pregnant, by the way, which my belly just continues to expand really exponentially at this point, of course, as we're rounding out pregnancy. We are going to get into all of that and more. But before we do, I want to tell you to, number one, be sure to like, subscribe, follow us at youtube.com/OutKick. That's where you can find all things Gains for Girls. Never, ever, ever miss an episode. Your support, your engagement, it means the world to me. Again, youtube.com/OutKick. And number two, I want to tell you about today's sponsor for this episode. It is Cozy Earth. It's the end of July at this point. I live in Tennessee. I know you guys know that. It is hot. It is humid. It does not matter what temperature you have your thermostat at. You are going to be sweating in the middle of the night. At least I was previously, before I had Cozy Earth sheets on my bed. I have the bamboo viscose sheets. They are incredible. I thought it was kind of like, again, an inevitable thing that you sweat in summer, not with these sheets. And Cozy Earth was so kind to send me sheets made for a crib mattress for the sweet little baby who is to come in just a few weeks at this point. So those are so soft as well. So if you're a mom, an expecting mother, you can get crib sheets. Or if you're anyone who sleeps in a bed, which of course is everyone, go to cozyearth.com. You can use my code GAINS for 40% off. Again, these are best-selling temperature regulating sheets and more. They have loungewear, they have pajamas. You can sleep cooler, you can lounge lighter, you can stay cozy with cozyearth.com. Okay, let's get into this week's episode. Of course, Alcatraz has really made the news over the past week or so. Actually, really longer than that if we're looking at alligator Alcatraz. But we're talking about Alcatraz, the prison in the middle of the San Francisco Bay. Donald Trump, he put this out on Truth Social. He says, in all caps, again, true Trump fashion, rebuild and open Alcatraz. For too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminal offenders, the dregs of society who will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we were a more serious nation in times past, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. That's the way it's supposed to be. Amen. No longer will we tolerate these serial offenders who spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. That is why today, I am directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, FBI, and Homeland Security, to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. We will no longer be held hostage to criminals, thugs, and judges, interesting, that are afraid to do their job and allow us to remove criminals who came into our country illegally. The reopening of Alcatraz will serve as a symbol of law, order, and justice. We will make America great again. Of course, that was his campaign slogan, both in 2016, 2020, and 2024, make America great again. This would do just that. This would actually extend beyond that. This would make America safe again. As you can imagine, liberals were not happy with this. Those who suffer severely from TDS. This guy put on Twitter or on X, he says, Trump even mentioning reopening Alcatraz is absolutely abhorrent and disgusting. Puts a knot in my stomach. The only one who belongs in prison is himself and his staff of Nazi a-holes. Happy Monday. Trump is a see you next Tuesday. Clearly, they are taking it very, very well. I wonder if this guy had a knot in his stomach when Laken Riley died. I will never forget listening to that court proceeding where Laken Riley's father spoke, and it broke me. So I wonder if he felt that exact same way. The controversy here is that President Trump's plan to reopen Alcatraz could cost around $2 billion per Axios, which, by the way, is $500 million less than the Federal Reserve headquarters renovations from Jerome Powell. So how does a maximum security abandoned island prison costs less than a government office? That's the question. But let's watch this video right here from Nancy Pelosi, who says that the reopening of Alcatraz is one of Trump's stupidest suggestions.
The president's notion about Alcatraz, with stiff competition, mind you, is one of his stupidest suggestions. Stiff competition. There's so many other stupid ideas, I don't even call them ideas, notions that they have put forth. The cost to shape it up and the cost to run it are just formidable. And it's really sad because they said we don't have enough money to feed our children or to get health care to people because we're too busy giving tax cuts to the rich. But we have money for really a ridiculous mission that is never going to happen.
I think Nancy Pelosi thinks this is stupid because she can't buy stock in it. Look, I don't want to hear a word from Democrats about something costing too much. These are the same people who spent billions of dollars, who approved to spend billions of dollars on DEI grants and initiatives and contracts. These are the same people who oppose DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, for crying out loud. So that's what I think about Nancy Pelosi. Look, who would be my first pick to go in these prisons? I think number one, Fauci. And again, interesting, President Trump in his Truth Social, he said judges, which hopefully that means that there will be some sort of crackdown on these judicial figures, unelected bureaucrats who continue to really circumvent the American people, what the American people voted for. The president that 77 million people turned out to support and to circumvent Congress, quite frankly. Yeah, Fauci, I think he belongs there. Who else? People who don't put their bins up when you go through TSA, right? The security checkpoint in airports. If you go through that line, you take your backpack out of the bin, your suitcase out of the bin, and you leave that bin on the little conveyor belt thing without putting it where it's intended to go, straight to Alcatraz. Who else? People who film themselves crying and voluntarily post it to the internet for the world to see. For the life of me, I can't fathom this. I cannot imagine, like, number one, sobbing, thinking to myself while in the midst of a breakdown that I need to film it, filming it, finishing the recording, going back to watch it, thinking, yes, this is good, clicking post for the world to see, straight to Alcatraz. I'm kidding, of course. This prison institution will house the most heinous of criminals, which I believe is a good thing. I really do. I don't think prisons, especially, again, those prisons for the worst of the worst criminals this country has seen, who roam our streets, I don't think they're meant to be a luxury hotel. I am all for creating these, again, penitentiaries or institutions surrounded by very dangerous animals. Again, whether that is Alcatraz, surrounded by great white sharks, or alligator Alcatraz, surrounded by alligators. These are not meant to be desirable situations that you want to find yourself in. They are meant to be a punishment, okay? So I'm all for it. Maybe we can create one in, like, Antarctica and have it be surrounded by, like, polar bears. I don't know. Anyways, I swam Alcatraz. I debunked the myth. Can you escape? Yes, you can. And again, I did this at 31 weeks pregnant. Actually, I did it last year for the first time. I was much more fit then. I will say I was a little more buoyant this year. Maybe that helped me. But basically what happens is you ride a boat out to the prison, you're dropped off at the prison, and you swim back to shore. It's about 1.5 miles swim. So dropped off there. It was pretty incredible, actually. I did this with a group of current and former Navy SEALs and Army veterans. I didn't publicize this on my social medias when I was posting about this because many of these military members, they cannot be mentioned by name, or I cannot share their stories. They're incredible, heroic stories of what they've been able to accomplish because some of them are still active duty. It would put them in a position of being compromised. And of course, that is not something that I want to do. But nonetheless, these people are heroes. They are America's unsung heroes. And it was just amazing to be able to, for a few days, have that time of fellowship and companionship and be able to talk with them and honor them. I left this experience for the second year in a row just feeling so overwhelmed with gratitude for those who put themselves and their lives at risk. I can mention some of these people I swam with, one of those being Charles Keating III. He actually swam in the Montreal Summer Olympics in 1976. So it was remarkable to be able to swim alongside him. Obviously, he's a bit older at this point, but just how fast, how efficient his stroke was incredible. But beyond his own accomplishments in swimming and for the United States, uh, what he's been able to build out following a horrific incident that his family faced. He has a nonprofit now called C4, which is really there to provide assistance and guidance and resources to families of military members in high stress environments and circumstances. So awesome stuff. But again, this follows a pretty tragic scenario where his son, who's also named Charles Keating the fourth, he was a U.S. Navy SEAL. He was actually a sniper with the SEALs, but he was killed in action against ISIS forces in Iraq in 2016. Following this, he was awarded the Navy Cross, which is the U.S. military's second highest award for valor. I think he was the third American service member to be killed while fighting ISIL in Iraq in 2016. Again, really horrific circumstances, but to see what these families have been able to build surrounding things to help out other families is really remarkable. We swam with a man named Paul DeGelder, who is a double amputee. Actually, now he's a Shark Week host. He's an Australian former Army paratrooper and elite Navy clearance diver who survived a shark attack in 2009, losing his I believe his right hand and leg to a bull shark during a routine counterterrorism exercise in the Sydney Harbor. So what do you do when you survive a shark attack that takes your right arm and your right leg? You go back into the water and you swim Alcatraz and you become a host with Shark Week, which is this week, by the way, feels very timely. Again, another incredible story. How did it go for me? I think this year, comparing it to last year, obviously being this far along in the pregnancy, I felt great. I felt great. If you've watched the episode I made with my husband, I think at around 26 weeks pregnant, when I announced my pregnancy to the world, when I revealed this exciting news, I shared with you all there that I have had virtually no symptoms the entire pregnancy. I have felt awesome, pretty much the exact same as I did pre-pregnancy, pre-conception. But now my pants just don't fit as well as they once did. But otherwise, I've still been able to do everything that I did prior to pregnancy in terms of exercise. I run, close to 30-ish miles a week, still swimming here and there, still lifting, doing everything that I can to stay fit and to stay in shape and to make recovery postpartum a breeze. And I think being fit is a large part, prior to pregnancy, is a large part of why I have felt so great during my pregnancy. So again, dropped off at the prison, probably about like a third of the way in. So let's say you've done close to half a mile at this point. Bear in mind, it's really, really cold. I think the water is around 55 degrees, which doesn't sound too cold in terms of air temperature, but really, really cold when you're in water. So it's around 55 degrees. That's got to be the worst part. More than the sharks, more than the current, more than anything else is just how cold it is. So about a third of the way in, I start getting pretty dizzy. I don't know if it was the current, again, kind of leading you one way, all while getting hit with waves that are coming another way. I don't know if it was pregnancy. I talked to my OB about this afterwards. I had an appointment, actually. Just a standard routine appointment that you have for me, every 2 weeks at this point. And I told him, I was really dizzy when I was swimming. He was like, well, of course, when you're pregnant, your body carries fluid. You might have some of that in your ears. Having water in your ears too could affect, how you're feeling in terms of your balance, being dizzy. So I was very dizzy. So at one point, just incredibly disoriented. I'm like swimming back to the prison. Where am I? I don't know. Got back on track, made it to shore, really with no major problems. About 35 minutes for me to complete this swim. Again, not too bad. But as I alluded to in the intro of this episode, me swimming this event, it wasn't even really like a formal event. It was like just a little gathering that we all decided to do. Okay, it was no formal thing really put together, or it was not a race or anything like that. Following this swim that myself and these incredible SEALs did, my husband actually swam it with us too, by the way. Following this, it broke the minds of liberals. The same liberals who are still getting tested for COVID in the year 2025, seriously, by the way, are mad at me for swimming in the San Francisco Bay waters in my third trimester of pregnancy. I posted this to social media. I said, escaped Alcatraz at nearly 31 weeks pregnant. I'm basically just a human submarine for baby girl, which I thought was kind of funny. And that's what I was thinking literally in my head as I was swimming. I'm like, she gets to do this with zero output. I'm like her submarine here. But let me read you just a few of the comments that I received following this. Again, it got about 77,000 likes. I don't know how many views it's at this point, but as you can imagine. I mean, tons of support, by the way, people who are, I mean, who expressed how much in awe they were of my willingness, number one, to do this, and two, the ability to do this far along in the pregnancy, but did not stop the haters. This guy says, I guess putting your baby at risk for clicks was a decision. Uh, I wonder where he got his doctorate. I didn't know Twitter had so many like OBGYNs or doctors who suddenly know more about pregnancy and exercising when pregnant than my OB did, who cleared me to do this. This person says, maybe not the best time to swim in the ocean. LOL, but what do I know? Nothing. Actually, you know nothing, at least about pregnancy and again, exercising during pregnancy. This person says, why do this when you're pregnant? Seems dumb, pointless, and not worth it. Um, Again, I think I feel so great, and I have the entire time because I have done things like this regularly, whether being pregnant or not being pregnant. This person, I like this one. It says, I'm shocked you can still swim given the crippling PTSD you seemingly are suffering from after tying for fifth place. You're so strong. This is so old and tired. Truthfully, like, I'm so sick of talking about Thomas. I feel like for the most part, I refrain from talking about as it's something that I don't think he deserves the airtime that he's getting, truthfully. So I don't talk about really my experience much beyond when it's relevant. Obviously, it's not relevant here. It's the other side that can't help but bring it up, never offering like anything foundational or anything of substance to I mean, make the point, make the case why they think men should be in women's sports, why they think it's okay for men to steal opportunities from women. Always some sort of like personal attack like this. But again, in one ear, out the other does not hurt my feelings. I guarantee you this person commented it from their couch. This person says, I'm sure this was worth putting your baby at risk. I love this one. This guy says, this is pretty this is pretty amazing. He says, imagine the torturous, horrific conditions for the fetus. Breathing. Oh no, breathing. Muscle squeezing, adrenaline overdosing, massive pressure on the cervix, womb, sac, and fetus, then the sloshing and incredibly loud noises. Quite the sadistic torture. Hope the fetus survives the mother's idiocy to be born healthy. Poor baby. First of all, my child, my developing child in the womb is not a fetus at this point. It's like if she were to be born, obviously not ideal to be born 9 weeks early. And no one can say what is to, for certain happen. But viability is 24-ish weeks. So to have a baby at 31 weeks, again, not ideal. And I'm sure there are circumstances where it has resulted in not fantastic outcomes. But this is a child. Okay. So this whole fetus thing is silly. I mean, bare minimum, he's aware women have a cervix and a womb. So that's good news, I guess. But outside of that, he knows less than nothing about biology. To say the incredibly loud noises, there was nothing loud about being in that water. The muscle squeezing, I think she feels my muscles squeezing more when I cough. Okay. Breathing, you're right. Let me just stop that really quick. Let me just stop breathing. Good idea, Brian. He sounds like he would get winded going up about 5 steps, 5 stairs. He sounds incredibly unhealthy. He sounds vaccinated, quite frankly. So that is just ridiculous. One of my favorite things to come out of this situation is this article that the San Francisco Chronicle posted about. I guess this is like a satirical account. The headline is Riley Gaines makes the swim from Alcatraz, ties for fifth place behind 61-year-old former supervisor Aaron Peskin. Again, kind of funny. Like I can laugh at this, right? I have a sense of humor, unlike the other side. Um, Obviously, this is totally made up. It's a lie, but it caught traction on social media. Nearly 10 million views. 10 million people saw this and thought that I tied with whoever Aaron Peskin is, which I went on to find out he was a 61-year-old retired politician who is 5'2". I hope I could take him in a swim of any length, any distance as a Division I athlete. This was funny to me because I think they were like owning themselves without ever even knowing that that's what they were doing. Number one, the implication being that something is wrong with fifth place. Again, when they allude to Riley getting fifth place, it's fifth in the entire country. Didn't go my best time when I placed fifth, but nonetheless, it's a feat that I'm incredibly proud of. And those four women who beat me are phenoms, are superstars, are the best of the best, are all Americans. Some of them are Olympians, Olympic medalists. Okay, like they're phenoms in their sport. They're world-class athletes. So to be able to even be in contention, that be in the same field as those women, is something that I'll forever be proud of, no matter what people like Keith Olbermann say. Uh, and again, to prove the point that I think with this headline that the San Francisco Chronicle put out, that men are just inherently better swimmers due to their genetic musculature, their stature, their wingspan, their heart size, their lung size, right? Like all of the different scientific things that go into it. That's the point I've been trying to make. Again, I think I could beat Aaron Peskin, whoever that is. But nonetheless, on average, especially when we're talking about at the same competitive level, like if you have the world record 200 backstroke swimmer in the men's division competing against the world record 200 backstroke holder in the women's division, obviously you know what time is faster here, who would win in a race. So this is kind of proof that men don't belong in women's sports. But the San Francisco Chronicle is simply too stupid to know that. So it was fun fielding all of the nastiness that comes with it. Will I swim it again next year? Absolutely. God willing that I'm healthy. Baby girl will be in tote. Obviously, she will be on the boat, swimming or coming back to shore on the boat, where I will be swimming in the water. So hopefully next year we can make some more people angry. Again, one of my favorite pastimes. And of course, I still agree with President Trump in the fact that Alcatraz should be rebuilt. It should be a place that, again, houses the worst of the worst, the most violent, as he says in his True Social that he put out. People who are roaming our streets causing mayhem, destruction, bloodshed. Those are the people who deserve to be in Alcatraz, both in the Bay and in Florida in Alligator Alcatraz. Maybe we can work on my idea of having something in Antarctica surrounded by polar bears. There's a like a again a theory out there. These prisoners that escaped, or did they escape? That's the bigger question I think here. Let's look at that really quick. Again, Alcatraz, remember, it was built to be inescapable. It's a mile and a half about off the shore, freezing cold waters, shark-infested waters. They've got great whites apparently there, deadly ocean currents. They've got armed guards in every single tower. And for years, no one did escape until 1962. Again, this is the most famous prison break story in history. It's how some of the most, you think of the people that Alcatraz in its past has housed, I guess, if that's the word you want to use. Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, Robert Stroud, again, really dangerous criminals. But there were three men who took it upon themselves to defy these odds that Alcatraz was inescapable. One of them being Frank Morris. The thing about Frank Morris is allegedly he was like a genius with an IQ of, I think, 130, 135, something in that realm. And he had a history of jailbreaks. Then you had two other men. These were brothers, Josh England and Clarence England. They were both skilled swimmers of the bunch. They had a fourth inmate, I believe, who was attempting to help them with this prison break, but he didn't actually make it out. So, what they were going to do, number one, they created this meticulous plan where they were going to dig an escape route. They did this using stolen spoons, makeshift tools. They chipped away at their air vents in their cells, and then they made these decoys. So, they crafted these lifelike dummy heads from soap, from cement dust. One of the things they would do is, of course, these prisons, the inmates can have jobs. One of them is the prison barber. They have a barber shop in the prison for the inmates to get their hair cut. They would take the real human hair from the prison barber shop to create these decoys. So when they decided they would ultimately break out, they would leave their cell. They would put this decoy in their bed, or at nights when they were going to work on their the plan that they were devising. They'd put the decoy in the bed. They would have real human hair. So when guards walked by, it looked like they were asleep in their bed. Then the next step was to build a raft. They stitched together, I think it was over 50 raincoats. They sealed them with heat to form a watertight escape raft. And I think the final step here was to find the perfect exit. They located a vent that led to the roof that was unguarded, apparently, and barely noticed. And every night at 9:30, I think they had this thing called music hour. They would use that noise during music hour to cover the sound of their digging, and slowly but surely they carved a hole big enough to crawl through into an unguarded maintenance corridor. And then on this night in June in 1962, about 9:30 p.m., Morris and the two Anglin brothers, they climbed through their escape tunnel. They made their way to the roof via the plumbing pipes. They used a homemade wrench crafted from a bed frame to remove the rooftop vent. They descended, crossed the yard, scaled, I think, a 15-foot fence, reached the shoreline. They inflated the raft. They vanished into the dark bay. Uh, I think the fourth member who I was telling you about, who worked with them on this plan, he couldn't widen his hole in time, so he got left behind. It wasn't until the next morning. So again, that's around 9 p.m. at night. It wasn't until the next morning that the guards discovered the fake heads. Again, with the real human hair, and that's when Alcatraz went into full lockdown. Army, FBI, Coast Guard, they launched this massive search, but what they found was pretty chilling. In the days following, they found a homemade paddle floating near Angel Island, which is likely the destination that they were trying to reach. They found a waterproof bag. This had some of their personal items like family photos. It had a list of phone numbers. A letter, actually, to Clarence Anglin was washed ashore. They found life vests with bite marks that were discovered 90 meters from Alcatraz. The list goes on of the different things that they found. So, what happened to them? That's the question. Theory number one is that they drowned. Probably the most likely, if I had to guess. Again, just having done it twice at this point, how cold it is. You can only imagine that these prisoners were probably malnourished. I swim with a wetsuit, which keeps you a little more insulated. But being, I would imagine, very skinny, one of the men was not a skilled swimmer. That's why I believe they probably drowned. But again, hasn't been proved because they've never been found. Theory number two is they escaped and fled to South America. This is what a lot of people think. Apparently, the mom of the Anglin brothers received anonymous roses, flowers, delivered to her house for years. She passed away in 1973, and it's rumored that the two brothers attended her funeral in disguise. So that's pretty crazy. But again, we don't know the conclusion to this day. We don't know, but what I think we can conclude, it's likely they died. But again, the escape was absolutely possible, as proven by this 31-week pregnant woman, twice now at this point. So if they were still alive, they'd be in their 90s now. So I believe the case will remain open until they are confirmed dead, if they are confirmed dead, or until they turn 99 years old. So nobody knows if they've made it. The question of Clay Travis, this is something that he's been boasting in. Clay thinks he could make it. I tried to invite him this year to swim with me and with these Navy SEALs. Clay declined. I don't know if he declined. I think he was busy. He has other stuff going on. Do I think Clay Travis could escape Alcatraz? No. No, I don't. I think it takes a certain level of skill to be able to, again, conquer not just the cold, the current, the waves that are pulling you one direction. Waves are hitting you another direction. And I just don't think Clay Travis has that. Could he if he started training? Sure, maybe. If a water wing company sponsored his show, his radio show, I think he can make it. But as it stands now, I don't know, Clay. He says he's going to do it next year. I'm going to hold him to that because I think this should be like, we should do like a charity event surrounding this. The winner gets or I guess the loser should have to put up money to the charity of the other person's choosing. So Clay's made bets before about, high school boys basketball players, if they could beat one WNBA team in a game, $100,000. If any man who would go on to play in the WNBA, just unironically, like as a man, declare himself to be a woman to play in the WNBA, he'd win a certain amount of money. So Clay likes making these bets. So consider this my wager to Clay, a charity event, swimming Alcatraz. I don't think Clay Travis could make it, but we will see next year. As always, appreciate you guys. Again, follow us on youtube.com/OutKick. That's where you can find all things Gains for Girls. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment. Your support, your engagement, it means the world. I want you guys actually to comment below the person that you believe belongs in Alcatraz, the prison in San Francisco. Who is that person you think belongs there? Is it Obama? Heck, maybe Nancy Pelosi herself, Adam Schiff. I said Fauci. There's an array of people who I think could potentially find themselves there. Comment below who you want to see in the Alcatraz prison once rebuilt, reopened, reimagined by President Trump. And I want you guys to go to cozyearth.com, use my code GAINS, GAINES, for 40% off. 40% off is no joke. They've got the best sheets, loungewear, pajamas. Again, cozyearth.com. We will see you guys again next week.